I mean, how do we do an intro for a really incredibly powerful portrayal of the horrors of dementia?
Like that.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So we saw The Father with Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman.
I knew nothing about this going into it.
Same.
We just like, oh, we can go watch movies again. Like, theaters open now. Let's go see some movies that aren't going to be very crowded.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'd seen really good reviews of The Father, not anything in detail, but just like, it's good. It has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not that common.
Yeah.
So I figured, why not? Let's try this out. And I'm pretty glad I went to see that instead of Chaos Walking for my reintroduction to the theater, because
was Chaos Walking the one with like the Tom Holland cloud?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I came out of the movie. I went into the movie and throughout the movie I had this it's an excellent, just, you can tell that it's portraying something like dementia or Alzheimer's from the get-go.
Yeah.
But I didn't know quite where it was going, and by the time it arrived there, it fucking destroyed me.
Yeah.
And I got out of the theater, and I went out to my car, and I smoked a cigarette. And as I stood there, just trying not to fucking start crying again, I just started texting Michael, and I was like, you need to see this movie. You need to see it.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him too much, but then you went.
Yep, and then after about a week, I finally made time.
And then you texted me after the movie.
And just like, ... dude, I cried.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like this.
Could say I've seen something close, or at least that tried to do the same kind of thing with The Ritual that came out last year.
Oh, that's very different, though. That's very different.
The execution is extremely different. The topic is similar. That's why brings it come to mind.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the execution.
Very much, yeah.
Thematically, I think the idea of, dementia is something that's been explored in plenty of movies, but not a lot, but enough. But the execution here was, initially, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. I wasn't quite sure if there was actually some kind of plot going on to fuck this dude's head up and gaslight him.
I'm just assuming we're gonna do as spoiler free as possible for the first 5 or so minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, just making sure. Just make sure we're on the same page.
But yeah, no. Since glancing at one fucking review for it, if you look at a review for this movie, you're gonna find out that it's about dementia. So I don't think.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler. Yeah, that's the concept.
Oh God, I fucking hate your headlines, bro.
Yeah, we didn't miss that part of doing these in the car.
Yeah, did not. But so what it ends up being is this really effective portrayal of it. It really puts you in his shoes. It makes you feel his confusion.
It's a very unique way to go about it without giving away exactly what they do, that constantly plays with the surreal sense of reality.
Yeah.
That constantly displaces your understanding of it.
Yeah.
And the same pace with Anthony Hopkins' character.
Yeah.
So his confusion is your confusion and vice versa. And that is the way it's presented is such a brilliant way to get in that headspace and present it in a way that really humanizes the disease.
Yeah.
And
also the daughter. You still understand her side of things, too.
You do, and that goes into some more personal stuff that we'll get to later on because we have to talk about it, or at least I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because God knows, if you're watching this movie and this doesn't make you reflect on some aspect of your life, I don't know what the fuck to tell you.
Yeah.
Because there is such a humanity to this. There is such a sense of emotional stakes.
I have a very different relationship with my family, and specifically the one person in my family who said she had dementia or acted like she did. So it was a little different for me, but at the same time, in terms of relating to it, it definitely put me in the position where for a moment, afterwards I was like, is this what she's feeling? And and immediately was like, nope, no, it's not. But this is still a powerful and beautiful movie. Like,
I think for me, just and not in just regards to just was relating to other family members. It's more like dementia and Alzheimer's is one of my top 3 like greatest fears.
Oh man, so this was like a real horror movie for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like for me, my mind is like the most valuable aspect I have, and the idea of losing control of that at some point.
Yeah.
And losing control of me as a result fucking terrifies me.
I can feel that, yeah.
So it's not like there is definitely I think about how it relates to my other family as well, but there's also that part that terrifies me. Is like, oh God, is that what I have to look forward to? Whether like how possible that is, of course, is up for debate. But since that's an inbred fear, and fears are inherently irrational,
sure.
There's a almost feeling like, oh God, am I just watching the future right now? Is this what is happening? So there's definitely multiple ways to look at it.
There's also one thing I found interesting about it was that they make it very clear from the start that he's very stubbornly independent, and he's kind of a prick.
He says
he's a lot of a prick.
Does some horrible things. This.
It does this amazing thing where I genuinely hated his character several times.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop you from being horrified at his circumstance.
Well, that's what I was talking about before, where like the humanity in this movie is the fact that even though they present him as this thoroughly unlikable person at times, the fact that you still recognize his humanity enough, and the fact that this is still a human being with like thoughts, motivations, and feelings.
Yeah.
And like no matter how much you don't like somebody, this is still a fate that nobody deserves.
Yeah.
So from that angle alone, I do have to give a lot of respect that they made that choice to make him this vehemently unlikable at parts.
Yeah.
And still power through in their concept 100%, and just encourage that compassion of these are still people, whether you like them or not. And at some level, I'm not gonna say this applies to everybody, to be 100% clear, because that's a whole nother topic. But that being said, there are some universal horrendous diseases that exist that everyone who suffers from it deserves some compassion for.
Yeah. It's something that they really effectively nailed, which I think makes it exceptional. It was one of the things that makes it exceptional, because this is an exceptional movie on many fronts. Down to like the cinematography and the frame blocking and the way that they set up the scenes, like it's really astonishing. But the way that it's not just the confusion, it's the fear that comes with the confusion.
Absolutely, yeah.
This wasn't just something where it's like, I don't know what's going on. There was a genuine fear that came from that sensation, and I was really impressed, because it had that, it felt like a horror movie at times to me.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of, a horror movie where there's, gore and everything everywhere, but that kind of psychological horror where you're really kind of scared and wondering what is behind that door or around that corner, and what is actually going on, the kind of things where you don't need it to be in your face. The really difficult kind of dread to pull off.
But it's because it's based in reality. I think that's what makes it the more horrifying in that regard, is the fact that you don't know what's going to happen every time he opens the door. But it's not because something's going to jump out at you. It's more just because some different form of life's going to happen in some different way that you're not going to be able to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah, it is really this deep fear of the unknown, and the fact that everything becomes unknown no matter how
in a
familiar
terrifyingly real way.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of thing that's difficult to pull off in genres that are specialized in it, and the fact that they did this with a drama like this, a psychological drama, is astonishing. It's really powerful. It's really skillfully executed.
Absolutely.
I was floored by this movie.
Yeah. Do you want to get into spoilers now? Because I feel like I've said everything I can without giving anything away.
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna rate it, because when I first came out of it, like, initially I was like, this is a solid 9. I think it's a 9.5. And at this point, I'm looking back on it, I can't give it anything less than a full 10. It's so unique and powerful and flawless.
I will agree. This is probably the movie that has stuck with me the most I've seen in recent days.
I've thought about it quite a bit, and I think that it's the fact that they made this in COVID times, and the fact that the cast consists of 6 people. It's such a small cast.
Like
it's such
5, maybe 6.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant concept, and it's such a brilliant concept that takes advantage of the fact that we need to be in small groups. And I know that there are movies happening where it's definitely not small groups, but the small group, the small crew, the small cast, the small crew, the almost single location.
This is more or less a bottle movie for most of it.
It pretty much is a bottle movie. And the fact that they managed to, with that constriction, create something so memorable and powerful and unique, I have to give this full marks.
I mean, you can also make an argument that it's actually that way because it's a bottle movie, in that every change becomes more noticeable when you're in the environment you're familiar with, and that also kind of plays into the main point of the film.
Someone clearly thought, how do I make a movie respecting quarantine and just having a small group?
Yeah.
And instead of being restricted by it or feeling like it's a creative exercise, they managed to pull something off that doesn't feel restricted by it, but rather feels like it would be impossible or at least drastically lessened by a different circumstance.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
You want to get into it?
So is that a 10 for you?
I'm pretty much with you. I don't have any complaints about this movie.
Yeah. 100% see this movie. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend not looking at the spoilers that we're about to get into, because really it's worth experiencing for yourself. This is one of those rare movies.
Okay. So with all that being said,
let's go.
Oh
boy.
So I kind of want to explain my personal context of this movie, because this is what this is where my head was at watching this.
Okay.
From a few different angles. One, all this. I've told you all this in great detail. I have a complicated relationship with my father at this point, to the point where we're no longer on speaking terms by my choice.
Oh, right now?
Right now.
Oh, shit. When did you hit that?
A while ago.
When was this?
Or I told you that my basically childhood bully died not too long ago.
Right, yeah.
And then my father's response to that was to tell my mother, who was a friend of his, and he basically said, let that be a lesson to you about your drinking.
Wow. You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah.
I think I may have spoken to you sooner after the bully thing happened.
This happened about, I saw you when we watched, what did I watch at your place?
I don't remember, but...
We watched something at your place. Oh, we saw music. We watched music.
Oh.
So it didn't really feel like a good place to bring that up at the time.
Yeah, it's appropriate. Yeah. But yeah, no, you didn't get into that much detail about it. I didn't know you'd chosen to fully cut him off.
I'm still gonna have to talk to him every now and again, but it's basically I'm no longer interested in pursuing a relationship with him at this time.
Well, I will say, as your friend who's had these conversations with you over the years, it's a long time coming, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And I'm proud of you for getting there.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's a hard boundary to draw.
Yeah. Granted, I haven't told him that.
He'll figure it out eventually. It's like my cousin with her mom. She'll just block her number, and so it'll turn out a month later that she's been texting her the whole time, and my cousin doesn't even know. And my aunt is just like, "Why have you been ignoring me?" And she's like, "I needed to have I don't even see you."
So now that I've aired out that dirty laundry on camera, it's fine. It's fine at this point. It is what it is. So I guess the reason I brought that up is because I'm watching this movie and I'm seeing a lot of my father in Anthony Hopkins' character.
Douchebag.
And more just belligerent, angry, paranoid, and belittling of everyone around him. And he's not quite to that level yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that also goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I feel like a certain part of me is seeing the future. And that I can see the path of him becoming that to the fullest extent of what that entails. And I know my family enough to know that if push comes to shove, they probably leave me to handle it. Because I'm the only one that knows how to handle this bullshit. That's not like a knock on my sisters necessarily.
No.
That's more just when it comes to trauma and crisis, neither of them have the tools that I have.
No, I got that. Yeah.
And that's just, you know a lot of why that too.
Oh yeah, no, I know that.
But so like, I guess for me, a lot of this comes down to where I was struggling with this is seeing my father in this character and seeing that dementia take over and having to also recognize that at the end of the day, whatever ends up happening, he is still a person. As much as, quite frankly, I hate his guts right now, he is still a person, and I still need to, at some point, recognize that humanity, even if I decide I still want nothing to do with it. Those aren't mutually exclusive terms.
Do you also recognize that at some point you may just need to not sacrifice yourself so much and stick him in a home?
I'm not saying I wouldn't do that.
Okay, just making sure. Because when we finally did that with my grandma, because we spent years with my grandma just whittling everybody in the family down. She's still alive for some reason. She's manipulative. She's incredibly ungrateful. She is abusive to get attention.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this. Yeah.
She would do things like fake heart attacks just so that my dad would go see her at like 2 a.m. in the middle of the week. And he would spend nights at her house, like on the floor next to her bed and stuff.
Yeah.
Because she just didn't want him to leave. And on a certain level, like, that can sound like, oh, she's lonely, but no, she was incredibly abusive about it.
Yeah.
And very manipulative, all kinds of terrible things. And for years and years and years and years, she carried that on. And when we finally convinced them, when I say we, I mean my cousin, because all I did was get angry about it and be like, you can't keep doing this. This is terrible for you. But my cousin was the one who helped them actually put together a plan. When they finally got her into a home, it was like my dad stopped aging so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of stress that puts on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about this is that when you get to the end of the movie, when you get to the point where Olivia Colman finally decides to put her dad in a home, and she makes the whole trip there and does the whole shot of her driving away in the car, you feel a profound sadness about it, or at least I felt a profound sadness about it, that it had come to that point. But at the same time,
you need to do it.
I completely understood, and I really was glad that her character had gotten to the point where she could do that.
And that's really fucking hard to do.
Yeah. Especially seeing where it leaves him. It's an incredible achievement for this movie to make you simultaneously completely devastated by this decision, by this final result, and also know and feel deeply that it was the only choice that she had. It is, that's incredible.
Absolutely. And I think the other angle of it too is you don't blame her at all for the decision making. You completely understand why she does what she does, and you agree that's the right decision. But again, it goes back to just recognizing the struggle that a human being is still going through, regardless of your feelings towards them, and saying that like there's no happy ending here. There's no clear way out of this. There's no way to make this where everyone gets a happy ending. No matter what she would have done, he would have still been like deteriorating, and he would have dragged her down with him. So now that he's in the home, he can actually be a place where people who are trained to deal with this stuff can deal with it. But at the same time, that also means that his last connection to his old life is basically gone. And as hard as that is, and again, it's the right choice to make, there's still something about that you have to recognize and grapple with. It's a very layered, very complicated and issue to deal with. And I guess for me personally, it's important for me to understand as much as I am capable of what everyone would be going through in that situation.
Yeah.
So that way, in some level, I can feel solidarity with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
To me, that is very, very important.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was actually talking with Elisa about my mom not too long ago, and at one point she just stopped and goes like, "You see, this is like all on you, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." like that's not fair. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's when you're in that position where you feel like you're the only one that can do anything. There's that feeling of overwhelming responsibility and absolute powerlessness that you don't know what to do with.
Yeah. It's that whole thing where I can't just have nobody do this.
Exactly.
And I'm angry that nobody else is going to do this.
Absolutely. Yep. Exactly.
And this is going to really fucking take everything out of me for a while. But I can't, even that is preferable to sitting by and just not doing anything.
Yeah. And again, that's what sucks about being how's the best way to phrase this? Trauma adaptive one in the one of my immediate family.
The more emotionally intelligent one, the more emotionally,
the one who's been through enough shit to know how to handle shit when it comes up.
The more traumatically experienced one. Yeah, I can relate.
To the point where I can now change a tire in like 10-20 minutes flat because I've had like tires pop in the middle of the freeway.
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No, I'm using that as like a metaphorical example.
Sure, yeah.
But like at the same, but my point is like, because of I've had the unique experiences where I've had, like when I've had someone sit at my desk for an hour telling me about how they want to kill themselves and the exact way and how they do it.
Yeah.
And multiple experiences like that.
Yeah.
I can handle crisis situations with emotions when they come up in a way that my sisters, God bless them, do not have those tools, period.
No, I've always, so many situations where bad shit's happening and I'm just like, look, listen, this is what we're going to do. I need you to do this, okay?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And you inside yourself are like, oh God! But like, and you're like, no, I have to like focus and get everyone else focused or else this is all just going to fall apart.
Yeah. No, I remember, when I found out my mother had been drinking again. This is all public, by the way. I'm not telling anything new.
Yeah.
But I raced from where I was about 30 minutes away and just came in there and found my sister just like basically they were huddled in a corner. She's clearly inebriated. She's crying. She has no idea what to do. My dad's hiding in the living room. And I just kind of go over there and just like go over to my sister and just go, take a break. And I was like, I gotta take a break, go sit down. And
have some water,
like
take a deep breath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, take a break. You don't need to deal with this right now. And then the next like 30 minutes was just like kind of talking her down and getting her to sit down. And then my dad said the worst things you could say.
Yeah, because they're not concerned. He's not the kind of person who's concerned with how to make a situation better.
It's like
concerned with venting his feelings.
I think I told you about this, and since we're airing dirty laundry out, no one's gonna watch this.
Oh yeah, we should just put the caption. The caption on this video should just be like, "This one's personal." Like,
yeah, no, because my mom will watch, and that'll be a whole other phone conversation. But I remember there's a part where she's like, I'm a screw up, and I just like, oh, you're not a screw up, and I look at my dad and I'm like, Dad, she's not a screw up, right? And the obvious answer you say to that is,
of course not, honey.
Guess what he said?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, well, yeah, but
God,
too much. That was the beginning of the end with my relationship with my father, right there.
I just what comes to mind is that fucking Stewie Griffin meme.
Yep, that is exactly what happened too. if you could see the look on my face, I'm like the pure of, that was a softball question!
How are you this? I know I have no expectations from you, but somehow you still managed to fail them. Yeah, no, I yeah, plenty of that.
But yeah, so
Oh,
with all that, I forgot everything on this topic. My point is whenever I see it is depicted
being
on
the person
screen,
who has to go through that shit and take care of somebody who's going through a hard time,
Yeah.
even if you fucking hate them, even if they're a shitty person who, you know, it does a heavy toll on you, like, you kind of have to do it.
Yeah, and this is the personal journey I'm going through while watching this.
And the moral of the story is, of this movie and of a lot of things in life, is that you actually don't have to do it.
You don't. I agree
you
with that.
need to keep that in mind, and you need to remember that you have your life to live. You have only one life to live. You only have so much that you can give to other people, and you can't just spend your whole life giving that.
Yeah, and I think that's something you and I have in common is we are both very much
givers.
Yeah, and we'll give everything until there's nothing left. And the hardest thing that I've had to work through, and this is something I'm actually working on now, is learning how to draw boundaries and just say, I need to do this for myself.
Yes.
This can wait till later.
Yes.
And that's something that was hard on me, especially I draw with my mom and her alcoholism, which is saying, like, I can't be here to handle every up and down. Like, I will call you, like, once or twice a week to check in, make sure you're okay, and you can call me anytime if you want to talk or if things come up.
Yeah.
But I need to create space from this, or I'm not going to survive.
No, this is something I've been trying to teach my family with my aunt, because like she lives alone now. She's retired. She lives like up in a cabin in the woods, like not a cabin, like it's a nice house, but it's in that like log cabin style.
Yeah.
And she gets bored and she just sits in her head all day and she thinks about how her life has gone and how her relationships have gone. And as people with her mental situation do, I'm not going to act like I know enough to diagnose her officially, but I feel if I had to guess, I would feel pretty safe guessing that she has untreated, unmanaged borderline personality disorder that has just gone rampant over the years. And while I do empathize with her and I am willing to be part of her life, I know that when she just decides to respond to my cousin, when my cousin just like says something like really gentle to her, just like kind of being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't say this. And it turns into this full-blown fucking tirade rant against her about how ungrateful she is and how abusive she is and how she just never treated her right and how she's sick of how she treats her. Like, it's this fucking snowball effect, and it doesn't get better. And one of the main things that I feel like people forget when we talk about family and we talk about family obligations, you know, I was raised quite emphatically. This message was conveyed to me by, ironically, the people that I've had to learn to not stick to it for.
Yeah.
It is really ironic to me that my grandmother and my aunt were the people who, when I was growing up, pushed the hardest on me that you never give up on family. Family is super important. You can't turn your back on family. You can't, you know, just because you had a fight with family doesn't mean like you stop talking to them. Like you need to stick to family. You need to, like, they hammered that shit into me. And at the same time, they were also the two people in the family that were telling me not to be a burden on my father.
Well, yeah, of course, because then that means you, like, I feel like what that's code for a lot of the times is I'm going to do whatever shitty thing I'm going to do, and I expect you to be okay with it.
Yes.
Because we're related by blood.
Well, but that's the thing. It's I think that
Maybe not consciously.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was conscious, at least initially. I think they just grew up with the message that this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And over the years, they kind of started taking that for granted.
Yeah.
And they got to a point where they just like felt like they could say whatever the fuck they wanted and get away with it. And the thing is that we don't need them.
No.
They don't seem to understand that we don't need them. And somehow my aunt hasn't gotten this, even though we've left her mother to rot in a fucking nursing home, because she is one of the worst fucking people I've ever seen in my life. And my aunt doesn't get this. And she will, like, the line I've been trying to teach my family to draw, particularly my cousin, her daughter, is she needs to realize that if she wants a place in our lives, she needs to earn it, and she needs to treat us well, and she needs to, like, make us want to be around her. And that doesn't mean sucking up to her.
No.
That doesn't mean, like, that doesn't mean her sucking up to us. That doesn't mean her, like, giving us money or something. That just means her being a decent fucking person and not tearing into us when she disagrees with us or judges us. Like, but to people like that, it seems like such a weird foreign concept.
It is very hard to describe to people, because I've run into the same issue. That question actually largely inspired my Giants Day video, which is still one of my personal favorites, but the family you choose. And it was very much surrounding that idea of just because you're related by blood does not mean you need to put up with them.
Yes.
And for me, because God knows I'm not close to anyone in my family, like extended family, because my grandparents and my aunts and all that stuff, they're all crazy people. Thankfully, they don't watch my channel, so I can say that.
Sure. And if they eventually see this video somehow, fuck them.
True. I did already burn a bridge with my aunt around my birthday, because
did she see something on one of these?
No, it got weirder. Apparently my father informed her that he and I were disagreeing about Trump. She proceeded to send me some propaganda through an email. I didn't even know it was her. I had to do some Sherlock Holmes shit to figure it out. And here's the funny thing.
I love how she had your email address, but you didn't have hers, so you're like, who is this?
Yeah, and by the way, I haven't spoken to her like 5 years.
Aunt June?
And you think somebody you haven't spoken to like 5 years, you think, hi, how you doing? How's life? How's that? The first line of the email goes, are you a believer, Michael? I am.
Oh my God.
And then it goes down there. And then I glanced at it, I emailed back. It's like, okay, before I even go into any of this, like,
hi, Auntie. Nice to talk to you again.
No, I said, can you back up any of this? Is what I said. Send. Because at this point, it's like, I was already fucking done with this with my dad. I was like, I don't care anymore. Let's burn this bridge. So I send that email, and like he responds like the next day. He goes like, there will be no need for further discussion. And I was like, and then I think that one I was
You started this, motherfucker.
I was done with this, and I literally wrote back like word for word. It's like, then don't waste my fucking time. She sent me 2 emails that day, and I was like, okay, I got to nip this in the butt fast, because this is going to grow if I don't. So I sent that one, I followed, and I was like, if you're not willing to defend any claim that falls apart under the least bit of scrutiny, then don't fucking email me. And I haven't heard from her since.
Nice. Yeah, that's I feel like that's another thing. I feel like a lot of that stuff has come to the surface far more in the Trump era.
Yeah.
And God, it's such a weird thing. This movie touches on family division and abuse within the family, and just like so much stuff, and the things that people go through in trying to take care of someone like this. And at the same time, they do make you empathize with him, but I think that it's really, it carries us off. It carries out, pulls off.
There you go.
Pulls off this.
You found it.
There we go. It pulls off this balancing act between those two, which is really, really profound. And as we can see from this extremely personal video,
just airing out all the dirty laundry.
Yeah, right. I think it's just goes to show just how powerful this movie is.
Yeah,
it touches on a very personal thing that, whether you're dealing with a parent that you have a bad relationship with, or a parent who's has dementia potentially in their future, or even if you don't have a parent like that, your own fear of going into something like that.
Yeah.
It touches on a very human part of life. It touches upon something that is not an uncommon thing. And granted, it's not universal necessarily, because everyone has their own circumstances, but it is so thematically rich and well executed and well acted.
Oh yeah,
it's so well written, well acted.
It was so nice to see Anthony Hopkins in a role where he just wasn't doing Anthony Hopkins,
Yeah. He's a real actor. It really is. And Olivia Colman is just always good.
Oh yeah. I think two things on this. I think this is definitely one of those rare cases where after I walked out of the movie, this is a case where I didn't driving home, I didn't turn on any music or anything. I need to sit with this for a while, and I just need to think about it. And two, and it's definitely involves a concept that I've, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I've had the hardest time explaining to people, in that if your family is abusive, you have full permission to cut them off. You are not obligated to make peace with them when they have no intention of making peace with you. That wouldn't involve complacency, which is what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, in my opinion, the people you choose to mean the most to you as you get older matter way more than the people that you were forced to care about by blood.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the really, I know we've said this, but it's really astonishing that they managed to do this without making a very plain. Well, that's gonna be cool.
I'll do that.
Without making a very blatant and black and white, obvious good person, bad person thing in the movie.
No,
it would have been so easy to make this a one-sided movie.
Absolutely.
Of Olivia Colman's difficulties in taking care of her ailing father, but they didn't do that. They could have done that, and it could have still been a really effective movie, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They put you in his perspective. It's so strange.
That's why
it's so
works.
Interesting.
And that's what brings out the compassion. That's what brings out the empathy with somebody struggling with that. And again, that's what also makes it difficult. If you are somebody like you or I who have family members we have issues with, and granted, what we get out of it varies by degrees.
Of course, but I think that just speaks to the like I was saying earlier about the universal nature of this movie, just how many different experiences it can speak to.
Yeah.
And by not just dehumanizing him into this monster or this burden or something
because that'd be just too easy, and it's not an easy topic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone wants to have a better relationship with their parents.
No.
Nobody goes out looking for that.
No.
It happens because somewhere along the way you realize you're just not compatible as humans.
Yeah.
Whether intentional or otherwise.
Man.
And I'm still struggling with that. I struggle with that every day.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking of recent family shit.
I know. We're going down a rabbit hole.
Oh boy.
We're just gonna call this.
Let's wrap this up with.
Call this video group therapy.
Let's both talk about the end.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because the end broke both of us.
There it is. Okay.
So there's the very end of the movie, basically, you end up with Anthony Hopkins in his hospital room speaking confusedly to his nurse, who's trying to be patiently explain to him he's in a facility, his daughter's in France, everything's fine, she comes to visit every now and then, and he asks who are you? Well, who's the doctor? And he is suddenly so helpless.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's been increasingly helpless through the movie, but the fact that he's this helpless and lost, and he he says, "Who am I?" And that's the scariest fucking thing. And the way he acts this scene is horrifying and heartbreaking and just devastating. And then he gets to the point where he basically starts crying for his mother. Literally just calling her mummy. And it's not... The fact that you can have a man of Anthony Hopkins' age doing something like that, saying the words that he's saying, and having it be like, it would be so easy to have a scene like that collapse into being overwrought or, you know, a bit too much to be taken seriously. Like,
yeah.
But he nails it, and I just fucking broke. I just started crying.
Yeah, me too.
It was really, really tough. And the nurse is able to calm him down, and she brings him over the bed, and she sits him next to her, and she lays his head on her chest and starts petting his hair, and just very calmly starts talking about just the nice day they're gonna have, and how they're gonna go for a walk, and they're gonna... She goes into this metaphor about leaves and trees, and the idea, the metaphor that I think they were trying to get at is that, you know, as a person, you are the tree and the leaves are your memories, and even as all the leaves fall away, it's still nice to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this really haunting, bittersweet, beautiful thought of the twilight of your life. Even if there's almost nothing left of you, that even just being alive and experiencing something as simple as a nice walk will be a nice thing. It's a lot. It's a really...
Yeah.
It's a lot of fucking emotions to put you through for the last few minutes of a movie. And it really is the slow culmination of everything that the movie's been about up until that point.
Yeah. It's the last vestige of pride and arrogance giving way to the fear that it's really all about, as Anthony Hopkins has to is forced to relinquish the last connection he had to his old life and basically surrender to this circumstance that he has no control over.
Yeah. See, in that moment, that again speaks to the dual perspective of the movie, because in that moment, I was in his shoes. I was in his mind. I was thinking about the sheer horror of being lost in your own mind like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the whole idea of nursing homes, coming from I Care a Lot, is a very different thing.
Oh, did you watch that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible double feature.
Oh, God. Yeah, watch I Care a Lot after this. It'll completely ruin it. But the whole idea that if you're able to find, you know, nurses that are actually patient and caring and do the job for the right reasons and do their damn job,
and
approach it with empathy.
Fucking hard job that I don't wish on anyone.
Yeah. But at the same time, even if that's not there, I think that in a sense, that character's final closing monologue as comfort to him is also meant to be a comfort to the people watching who are, you know, going through something like I was going through when I was like, oh my God. Oh God. Oh no, I'm getting old. Not even that old yet, but like, I mean, we're when you get to your 30s, like, you really start to feel like, oh God, I'm not young anymore. I'm not like young anymore. And that difference between you and the youth really starts to shine. And it's...
You say that to me as I'm turning 30 this year.
Oh boy, man. It's this... It's a weird feeling, man. It's a weird feeling. But there is a thing about finding your way in life and finding a dignity that's beyond the, youth.
Yeah.
But I still love all the cool shit. Damn it.
I don't see that as mutually exclusive.
I'll never stop going to raves. Try and fucking stop me. I'll be that 70-year-old dude tripping on mushrooms in the corner watching the fucking fractals. I don't give a shit.
Oh yeah, fucking do it, dude.
That'll be me.
You'll be the cool man with like all the glow sticks and stuff while you, like, your tits are in circles. You know?
I'll be wearing those the like Tommy Chong glasses with reflective lenses and just be like, just dressed in full fucking hippie gear, but like, yeah, with just glow sticks hanging off of me all over the place. I'm just walking around with this giant joint, just like, yeah, that'll be me.
I'll be going from full tight Spider-Man to like Peter B. Parker Spider-Man that has like the gut and the sweatpants. And the sweatpants.
Didn't you say that some fucking kid at one of your parties was like, Spider-Man's not fat or something?
Like, Spider-Man doesn't have a belly. That was one thing I forgot to mention.
Kids are assholes.
Like, this is great. This is a bit of a tangent, but it reminded me, like, something like I think of the Courier made me think of it, and they're talking about like how the kid can't do math.
Yeah, okay.
There is a part where last weekend when I was doing parties, one of the parents like, can you stall for like 10 minutes waiting for people to show up? I was like, okay, sure. So we start telling jokes and riddles at each other with the other kids that were there. And at one point I was like, all right, I thought I'm an easy riddle. So I said, if you give it air, it will live. Give it water, it will die. What is it? And then one of the kids goes, milk.
What?
And the dad, who's standing right next to him, looks down at him, looks back at me, and goes, I'm starting to question distance learning.
That is amazing.
I know, right?
That
same kid actually got the riddle right, like, not too long after, so he redeemed himself. But there's a myth there. You can see a bit of this man's soul die as he just looks at his son, like, oh, he is that stupid.
Like, I know that there's like, there's always been this thing where parents are like, my kid's the best. I love my kid's so special. My kid's amazing. But I feel like I don't know if it's a generational difference, but I'm pretty sure that it's just more common for parents just to be like, kids are fucking stupid, man.
Yeah.
My kids especially are pretty, like, they're really smart in some ways, but they're fucking stupid in a lot of ways. Like, yeah. No, it's pretty fun.
That was a bit of a tangent, but that break some of the tension there.
Yeah, I needed that. That was cool. So yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything about that incredibly emotional final sequence, but
I mean, I feel like I've said everything that basically brought it full circle for me.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I can add to that other than, it broke me too, and everything I've said before is the reason why.
Yeah. A really creative and powerful and astonishing and unique and interesting and compelling and emotionally involving movie. Like, I can't speak highly enough of this.
Yeah,
this is fucking amazing.
Definitely going to be high on the best of list this year.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
This is a really, really good movie. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think so. So,
all right.
Thank you guys for joining us for that journey.
All right, now about Man of Steel.
No.